but we're also trying to play the long game. You're not going to make sacrifices in the first 10 games of the year that you think might do you in the last 10 games of the year, the first round of the playoffs. I mean, you see that with managers, doing pitch counts of pitchers. They think about the whole season. You see people who have been like really heavily and negatively impacted by this uncertainty that we have. No one knows. And this is the first time most anybody's been in this situation before. No one knows with 100% certainty when you're going to race again.
Coach.
Hey, happy Monday, Michael. How are you doing today?
Excellent, man. Why do I feel like this could be any one of 7 days right now?
Yeah, listen, man, there is no such thing as a weekend. There is.
Everything's a
It's
weekend.
just everything's a weekend, and everything can be a work day. It is.
Yeah.
It is definitely an interesting time, but hey, we're happy to be here. And then if you're keeping track or you don't know what today is, it's Monday. It is April 6th, 2020. And welcome aboard the Crushing Iron Podcast, episode 362.
Yeah, it is. 362.
362. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and this is so weird, man, because this is sort of like our lifestyle in a weird way. I mean, I know you got other things going on, but we kind of work 7 days a week, or we take 7 days off. It's like a combo.
You take 7 days off? I mean, we're going to talk about this off air if you're taking 7 days.
Dude, I'm always on, but it's just in varying patterns.
It is. I was having this discussion earlier with somebody, and it's like you have this like almost this like free sense of, definitely freedom isn't the right word, since we feel like some constraint right now with the ability to go places and do things and see people, but there is this like false sense of freedom that I've actually seen and talked to a lot of athletes who have now had like a struggle with time management because they don't have like, all right, I got to get up at 5 a.m. I got to get my work on because I got to leave the house by 8:30. I got to be at work by 9. I got to work, and then I usually have my lunch break at 12. I can sneak out on a short run at work. If I don't, I'll have my lunch. I got to meal prep that, and then I get home from work. I got to do this, and now it's like I'm working from home, so I don't have to be anywhere. I don't have to get showered. I don't have to get ready. I'm not driving to the pool. It's like they have this like lulled sense of no structure and no routine that breeds sometimes like just really poor time management, even though you've been given the opportunity. Some of us, not all, because a lot of people are actually working significantly more hours, like 70, 80 hours, and their time is all off. But for some of us, they're kind of getting that thing of, man, like I can just do it in a little bit. I don't really have any structure today, and the next thing you know, the day gets ahead of you, and you're missing training. And so it's or anything in general. But it's an interesting time. I think you got to capitalize when you can capitalize, because you just don't know. When I had that feeling for myself this morning, like went out for my run, I was like, man, I don't really know that I'm feeling getting in the time that I wanted to get in today, but maybe I'll just cut it short. But I'm just at least going to get out there. It's cool. It's cooler morning here in Chattanooga. The sun was about to come up, and I was like, I just want to get out and see what happens. Ended up running actually a little bit over the time that I was going to, but I was like, if I don't do it now, then it's going to get, this is like the conundrum we're going to find ourselves in for like the next 30 days or even like 60 is, man, I really don't want to do it in the morning, and then where it feels cool, it's nice, I got to get up and do it. I can do it later today. I've got all this free time, or my schedule's more lax. I mean, not free time is the right phrase, but, and then it's going to hit noon, and you're be like, oh crap, it's no longer 55 and dark. It's now 80, and the humidity's 75, and good God, I don't want to run in this. And so you're like, yeah, I'll just run tonight, after the sun goes down. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, the sun now goes down at like 8:50. No, I'm not doing this. So as always, and I think it should be like this all the time, because you never know when an opportunity is going to come up that's going to prevent you from training when you really want to. Is if you have an opportunity, get out the door and get moving. But hey, speaking of opportunities, we appreciate you giving us the opportunity to tune in today. If it's your first time listening, we welcome you. We've done 361 podcasts so far. If you haven't listened to them, you can dig way back into the archives. They're all outlined. They've got some structure to them. You can pick and choose on which ones you feel like might fit your life in no particular order, what topics might jump out at you. We do race recaps. We do race previews. We go over stuff our athletes are dealing with. A lot of times we'll just kind of talk. in an open dialogue, conversation style, no sponsors, no ads, no agenda, just a conversation between Mike and I as both coaches and athletes and what we're going through as, just people trying to make it work, trying to get training done and amidst this crazy life style that we're in and crazy life that we seem to all be living right now. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. Sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, and we'll do our best to give you something to take home today.
Yes, we will. I want to welcome all the new people that came into the online hub. We've got a lot of people coming in there. We appreciate it. It's sort of our membership area at c26triathlon.com. And we're trying to add like something new every day in there. We've already got hundreds of videos, instructional type stuff for swim, bike, run. We've got Zoom chats where you're breaking down training peaks and showing people what you're looking at and how people are improving and then some of the numbers games and bonus podcasts and all kinds of stuff. And right now we've got this sort of pay what you want through September 30th of either $9, $29, or $49 that covers basically 6 months. And it's a great community building on in there. And we look forward to making it even more awesome. And that's our goal. So appreciate you coming in. Welcome.
Welcome aboard. And before we get rolling too much in, I do want to say that over the next week or two, we at least plan on upgrading our Wi-Fi here at the Bruce household. We aren't going into our office space that we usually have, so I know in a couple the more recent podcasts we've had a couple cutouts and blips in the podcast, which is probably frustrating to our listeners. But that's on me. But hey, I could apologize, but it's just the fact that I'm not going into the office and getting the best Wi-Fi possible. I'm at home, being responsible and being a dad, and but we're probably going to upgrade here soon to the Bruce household because everybody and their brother right now is streaming Netflix 24/7. Kids are gaming and all kinds of stuff, so we've noticed a slight slowdown in our Wi-Fi here. So
it's funny you bring that up. I was going to mention something after the podcast to you. I've got something brewing that I want to talk about as far as that goes.
We could start our own Wi-Fi network. That'd be sweet.
I see an opportunity here, man.
Yes, C26 cable and internet. We'll be contacting you with a 3-year agreement with on-hold times of 45 minutes to 3 hours.
I had a little extra time on my hands last night, so I sent up a satellite dish, which was really interesting.
Yeah, hey, we're going above and beyond.
The owl in my backyard was a little disturbed, but yeah, I do have an owl in my backyard. Isn't that kind of crazy?
That's a hoot.
Yeah, it's a big one too.
Man, that's crazy. The owls are sweet. I got a topic for today.
Oh, you got a topic? Okay, I've got the unanswered suggestions up, but we can go wherever you want.
Oh yeah, I can do it too. Let me throw in the topic that I had for today. I was just thinking through some things this weekend and just the multiple conversations as a coach that I'm having right now with athletes and just like trying to be honest with them on when I think they're gonna be racing. While not being too overly optimistic or pessimistic, and just trying to be a more of a realist. And some athletes it's interesting because a lot of athletes have this like sense of relief because I think I know not all triathletes are wired this way, as we kind of saw over this last weekend. Ironman launched like I think it's like a VR1 they call it, or virtual racing. And I have to say this, and then this isn't a shot at Ironman. This is something else. Is that it's just interesting. You have to applaud them because they obviously have been working on this for a while. They didn't just like create this instant platform in like 48 hours to launch globally. They've been working on this for a while. This just happens to be somewhat obviously fortuitous in that they have been working on this and they can launch it now. Obviously not ideal that we're not racing out, with our friends and going to events and doing things. That's what the sport is about, is connecting and getting out and doing these things in races. But I think they had a really good showing, and for the most part it got pretty good feedback. We had a couple athletes hop in and do some things, but this is just a public service announcement. If you're one of those people that's cheating,
what?
Dude, it's kind of comical. If you put on Ironman's Facebook page, like they were like spitting out results for these bike rides and stuff, and you're seeing it's mostly dudes because that's just how dudes work. Like they'll lie about anything. that were doing like sub 2 hour bike splits. And you're thinking, like, most of the pros don't even do some of that. It's kind of laughable how
Mm,
egregious some of the cheating was. Like you got like the under the slide. Like I'm just gonna, because what happens is, and if you're not familiar with how a lot of these things work, is virtual racing and Zwift, and like the way that they generate and calculate your speed. It's like we all hop on our trainer. We're like, oh, we're going somewhere. I'm doing 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour. I'm crushing it, or I'm only going 13. If you don't have a power meter, then it's just going by is your cadence and your wheel size. On platforms like Swift or what Ironman's using, what they do is you put in your body weight, right? And then you put out, and then obviously it takes your body weight and it takes your power output, and using that calculation, it spits out your speed, right, over the graded terrain that they're producing virtually on whatever course it is they're doing. That's how they get it. But so if you got a guy that weighs, and this is where power is so relative anyway, and I think sometimes athletes forget that or don't understand that, is power is relative to the person. You could weigh 120 pounds, and if you put out 200 watts, you're going to be flying. If 200 is good because your body weight is low, but then if you're like a 250-pound dude and you're only putting out 320 watts, well, that 120-pound person is going to demolish you, because it's about watts per kilogram. It's about efficiency, about the most power you can put out versus the least amount of you it's got to carry around. And so what happens is a lot, well, not a lot, select individuals who obviously have nothing better to do with their lives, get on Swift or get on these platforms and do these races, and they're like, oh, well, I'm a larger individual. I'm just going to basically, let's say we weigh in today at 160. That feels about right. When in reality, they weigh like 180 or 185.
mm.
So you have a calculation that's totally skewed from a person who's blatantly lying. It's kind of like it was so egregious. I think most of the comments were actually making fun of how egregious the cheating was or how off the calibration is. And this is one other thing that I just want to lay out there, and it's just, I think, what needs to be common knowledge for athletes that have power meters. Every power meter is different. Every one. Every single one. It's created individually. They're all different. They're also wildly different in the numbers they put out based on the manufacturer, and then also where they measure your power output. So you've got power output that's being measured at the pedal, like Garmin Vector pedals. They measure you at the point of contact. And you've got a company like Cork, which is my what I consider like the gold standard. It's what I've always used. They generate your power from a spindle in the crank arm. And then you have other ones that do it from the chain rings, and you have some which, like the old school, like the power tap ones, which are also like, I think, in my opinion, probably closest to the most accurate, because they do it from the hub of the wheel, so it's actually giving you what's being transferred to the wheel on the road, versus power can be lost in the. Obviously, this is how I want to say physics. I'm obviously not the smartest guy in the room, but I would say you lose that power you generate from your cleat and your shoe that's being transferred to the bed. That's like your immediate power. But as it travels through the crank arm and the chain rings and the chain all the way through the derailleur and makes the bike spin, obviously you're losing watts because of that friction. That's why they come out with these like really, really high tech derailleurs and chain wax that reduces friction, because what you want is you want every bit of power that's being produced from your legs to fluidly, with the least amount of takeaway, going through that whole cycle, all those devices, or not devices, but all those um, things on your bike, to get the most out of it. And so everything you see is different. You might have an athlete with a calibrated power meter that consistently reads 220. It still might be off, but as long as it's consistently off, that's all you care about. Like, if every power meter is probably off to a degree at some point, but the thing is, as long as it's consistently inaccurate, you can gauge progression, you can gauge improvement. If it's always off, that's obviously not going to be good. Like, I had an athlete the other day whose power meter was like way uncalibrated, and he was throwing out like 850 something. We're like, all right, this is obviously not. So each manufacturer. So you also have to take that into consideration, which I'm not sure if they do or not. I think they should. Is that something like a hub generated power meter, uh, like I used to use, like a power tap, is all, in my experience when I've transferred from that to like a Korg, is about a 10 or 15 watt difference. That's a pretty substantial difference. And you have people who have just to long story short, some power meters read higher than others. Some power meters read lower than others. Just remember, it's all relative to the exact device, the exact thing going on. It's the same thing as you and I or a couple group of buddies going out. You run the exact same route, the exact same time, shoulder to shoulder, but what happens? Do our GPSs go off at the exact same time? No. You got somebody beeping here, and then a few steps, somebody beeping here, and so it's working out the same satellite. So just remember that, like when you see these races, if you're participating, do it for you. It's fun to compete, it's fun to get out and do things, and I think it's important right now, especially with racing being what I would consider far away. It's just use it as a barometer to get out there and get better and have fun and stay focused, and not really. But yeah, if you're one of those people that's cheating, like just get a life. Just go get a life. What I was going, it's true, man. Like if you're gonna cheat,
But
give
no,
me a
I
break.
just that whole
It's like
virtual world kind of weirds me out.
I
Anyway,
know it's a little out of your age range wheelhouse. But anyway, back to what I was gonna. Our focus today was that it's been interesting talking to athletes about some of them are relieved with no races, and some of them find that they're like really unmotivated. And we touched on this a little bit with one of the questions we had this last Monday, but I thought we could talk about, or not, depending on what kind of questions you want to go through from the pulse of the community last week, was that plan of small ball and the long game. We're huge proponents, both, and I think we even have a podcast entitled Small Ball. And what we mean by that is it's a baseball term. It's like we're looking for hits every day. We're looking for consistency. We're looking for quantity, getting the most sessions we can in. We're not trying to hit home runs every single at bat, and we're also not
singles and
looking to
doubles.
do it. That's right, singles and doubles. Move them around the bases. We're raising our percentage up. We're just trying to make contact. We're doing our job, but we're also trying to play the long game. And you might look at that as, like, if we're going to stay with like a baseball analogy, is you're not going to make sacrifices in the first 10 games of the year that you think might do you in the last 10 games of the year, the first round of the playoffs. I mean, you see that with managers, doing pitch counts of pitchers. They think about the whole season, and it's obvious, whether you have friends or coaches or people that you're rivals with, or people in your tri club, or people that on Facebook. You see people who have been like really heavily and negatively impacted by this uncertainty that we have. No one knows, and this is the first time most anybody's been in this situation before. No one knows, no one, with 100% certainty, when you're going to race again. No one. That's a first. It's a first for coaches. It's a first for athletes. No one knows. And within that uncertainty, a lot of athletes find lack of motivation, lack of excitement. But then some of them find it to be energizing, in that a lot of athletes, and I work with a ton of them, that actually enjoy just the process and the sometimes the monotony of just training, and removing of races where they have to kind of get anxious about it, or go through the taper phantom pains and have all these like expectations, and they get excited but they get anxious. Like, removing that is like, dude, I'm all about this. I can just train year round and be totally happy. And so I think it can be a freeing thing, and I think a lot of athletes struggle with that. And there are so many positives with, I think, having a conversation with yourself around. Obviously, we're huge fans of just playing small ball training anyway, and that's always, I think, in my opinion, very purposeful and a much safer and healthier way to go about your training progression. But then just the acceptance of, I'm in this for the long haul, and it's, I'm sure there's a million analogies you can make for it, but how freeing that can be, and how it can actually provide you a great deal of comfort in the fact that if you just have that conversation, like I've had it with myself, that while I hope to race in June, and while I really hope to race in August, I've already had a conversation with myself that is, there's a really good chance I might not. and that's okay. It doesn't change the way I want to train. It doesn't change what I want to do every day. It doesn't change getting up and going to run, because my goals are what I want to become, and the fact that the mere fact at its rawest form, I just want to get in better shape, and I enjoy doing this, and I love what it does for me, and I love the opportunity that it provides me. So races are kind of, I hate to say it, but like they're not right now, but they will be. They're a dime a dozen, and so, but I want to be ready when it happens. But there's a freeing kind of moment, I think, when you just accept that I don't know when I have to race, or I am going to be able to race again. You don't have your countdown clock, on your Garmin that's like, Ironman Louisville, 221 days countdown. It's just
Right.
like, I don't know. It hasn't been postponed yet, but who the hell knows, right? We're in all in uncharted territory, and so I think one of the most freeing things you can do that can build confidence within you, can set you on the right path, is have that conversation with yourself, accept it, and just realize that, guess what? Nothing changes. Your volume might change, the intensity might change, those specifics might change, but your mindset and your approach to the process that is getting better should go unchanged, because that's what it is. It's a mindset, it's an approach, it's a personal philosophy, it's a mantra, whatever you want to call it. It's just something that you are. It's something that you do. It's something that you've become. It's not weighted so heavily on an event. And I think that's where I was going to go today. We don't. I just kind of went there, I guess.
Dude, we're deep now.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm
We are.
leading off
Sorry,
second
man.
base, wanting to score,
We,
but
we went way too. I was waiting for you to overrule me and
no,
slam
I
the
don't have a
gambit down or
problem.
something.
I just really appreciate you're starting to get a new love for baseball, I feel like, and I think Hayden's probably driving you.
Hey,
Let's go into the baseball analogies all day. We could have Phil call in and talk cricket.
we're
Uh,
not doing. We're probably already losing
there
already. We're not
is,
gonna.
yeah, man, there's something going on in that space for sure. I personally, I think I'm in the, I don't want to, I think I'm a little bit in the relief category in a way. I mean, because I didn't have any races going on, but now I don't feel sort of this pressure of I need to make a decision right now. There's a lot of that going on in my life. I feel like in general, I don't know how, if you feel, of course, you go into the office a little bit more than me, like our little space down in Chattanooga, but I don't go to an office. So there's a thing with me when I see people getting up early and going to work on Monday that feels like I'm a little bit of a slacker or something. Just,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? There's that
Yeah.
thing. And now everybody's sort of doing the same thing. We're on even playing field for the most part. And I wonder if you can get past the anxiety of like, wow, this is weird, my life has changed and been thrown upside down, then you realize that like, oh, okay, we're sort of like calming things down for everybody. Now it's sort of like, how are we gonna emerge from this as people, as individuals, all that kind of stuff. And it's sort of an interesting cauldron of activity that's going on right now, because you're right, nobody does know. And that's the weirdest thing ever, that you don't know when these races are going to be. And it just blows my mind kind of. But in other ways, I'm just sort of observing. And I think that's really all we can do right now, is just do the best we can, kind of lean into areas that we're like, man, well, now's an opportunity to lean into something that might not have been available. You're not going through this uh, grinder of a lifestyle right now, in the sense that, maybe some people are. I don't understand the dynamics of who's working and who's not, but I assume a lot of people um,
There's
may
still a
not
lot
be.
of people. Yeah, there's a lot at home. There's a lot they got to go. It's challenging, I think, for everybody in specific ways. Obviously, you and I can only speak to our specific, situations, but in a way, if you think about it, for a lot of athletes, and this goes with me too. Like I referenced it a little bit on last Thursday's or last Friday's podcast, was that it's kind of like you're frozen in time. Like the Earth is moving and things are happening and things are going on, but it's not. Like there are, obviously there is a ton going on. I'm not trying to minimize that, but what I'm saying is that, like, for a lot of it, it's like when you don't have an end, a certainty, a day. the example we were kind of choking about at the beginning of this podcast, like there is no end to the week because the weeks are, for a lot of people, not everyone, for a lot of people, they're almost meaningless because because they're each day is it was even like staying at home now. I was laughing, or not laughing, but I made the comment yesterday to Allie. We turned on like a PBS Kids for Hayden, and he was watching a Sesame Street episode. And traditionally, he's only watched that like Monday through Friday on certain parts of the day. And she like turned it on yesterday, and this like song came on about Letter of the Week, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Today's Sunday. What are we doing? Like that's a Monday thing. But it's interesting how we like find ways to like associate with certain days a week. But for most people, it's kind of like being frozen in time. And for athletes, a lot of you, like when you started out this year, you started planning this year, is it going like you wanted to? If you've had a race canceled, maybe not. But for a lot of people, it's kind of giving you a redo, or it's kind of pausing and letting you catch up in a way. If you use the analogy of, I always find like rain delays or delays in any sport very fascinating because it's happened in every sport. Baseball, Grand Slam tennis matches, football, very rarely football, but still like major sporting events where somebody is in the lead. Somebody's like just genuinely just like really controlling the match or the game or whatever. And then there's a rain delay, or there's some kind of, delay that's like, all right, go to your locker rooms and just sit. And then when everybody comes back out, the game is totally changed. You get like a reset, gather yourself, slow things down, figure things out. And a lot of times you see the team or the individual that was like just running away with the game now on like their heels. And like the ability for momentum to turn can happen on a dime. And I think the opportunity for you as an athlete and all of us as athletes to use this as a momentum carrier or a momentum change is a great opportunity. And however you want to look at it, to make changes in your life, because yes, is life, standing still right now? No, it's not. It's going on. There are a lot of things going on for a lot of people, and a lot of people are still working or working twice as much, and their jobs are insanely stressful. And then you have people who are trying to work from home and trying to figure out how to homeschool their 3 kids all of a sudden, with online. Like everyone has a different stressor. And so obviously it's not freedom for people. That's not what I'm trying to say. But from a fitness standpoint, from a race standpoint, it's like everything has been shifted back like at least 90 days for right now. And so if you look at that window and think, okay, like I looked at a year that was a 12-month year, and I'm plotting out my races of April and then June and then a big race in October, and now it's like, well, now I got these like like freebie months in the middle to just kind of keep working, and that's a good thing, because later on in the year when I might have the opportunity to race, and I hope to have the opportunity to race, I'll be even more ready. And while races have gotten canceled and a lot of races are kind of hanging in that, what, in my opinion, like anything late May, June right now is in that like no man's land. You're just you're signed up for it. You're hopeful. You're still on, like for me, the athletes that we work with, like I have like this set of athletes that I know have like what's Madison 70.3, Steelhead, both in June. And I'm thinking, man, those are like pretty much probably not gonna happen. But you don't know, because that's the thing, is like you just don't know. You got to play, you got to make the best decisions that you can each day and each week within each session, within each training block to set you up for success, but not be where a lot of people find themselves, which is way overtrained or way undertrained. It's really hard right now with so many moving parts to stay well trained. And I think that's the kind of approach that so many athletes need to take right now, is I just need to be well trained. I just need to keep getting fitter and staying fit. I don't need to go all in and do 20 hours a week because I've got more time and I got to run 45 miles because I'm no longer going to work and I got to bike more. It's not about that. It's about progression. It's about doing it smart. It's about staying really fit. That way, when you are really fit, because one of the biggest mistakes athletes make is they consider being really tired with really fit. Being tired doesn't make you more fit. It makes you more tired, and you can't recover as well. Your training doesn't mean as much because your body can't respond and adapt because you're overtraining. You want to be fresh and you want to be fit. Is there always going to be a little bit of fatigue there? Sure, but on any day or at any time, you should think, you know what? I bet you if I took 3 or 4 days pretty chill, I could just rattle off a really good effort. and you will always want to be in that game, in that mindset, in that physical fatigue space. You never want to say, okay, if this race does happen, I'm probably going to need like 3 weeks to unload. Like if you're at that point or you're focusing on getting to that point, then you're heading the wrong direction. You just need to, again, like play that small ball, keep getting on base, wear the pitcher out, however you want to say it. That is the season, that is life. Keep them make pitches, keep them make pitches, keep them make pitches, keep swinging, and set yourself up for success. And look at, again, this is an opportunity to keep playing the small ball, to keep getting fitter, because long term, it's going to benefit you no matter what. And I think that's the big takeaway, is that, like, no matter what, if you play small ball and you keep chipping away and you stay active and you stay consistent and you do the best you can to keep moving, even amidst all this stress, as long as you can take care of yourself and eating right and getting your sleep and taking care of your body as a whole, then down the road, whenever you get to wherever it is you're going, and whenever that date may be, you're going to be better off. You can't just swing for the fences and hope that I'm gonna end up with 20 home runs when this is all over, when I line up for race day. Because what's more than likely to happen is you're more than likely going to be the sum of the strikeouts, or the sum of the average of your strikeouts that got you, that were the other half of those 20 home runs. And that's going to be more reflective of your race day versus I'm just trying to keep hitting, 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 hitting. Because you know what I'm going to be used to when it comes to be race day? Hitting, and more likely to make contact. And so that's the approach you have to have right now. And I think that's also a way to stay engaged and to stay excited, is to have that mentality versus pass or fail, win or lose, swing for the fences, home run or strikeout.
Mm. There's a theory in baseball that a lot of guys that get in the home run contest these
Mm-hmm.
days have bad halves of the second season.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's, to me, has always been intriguing because, I mean, you don't think about it, but when you're out there swinging for the fence, I mean, some of those home run contests, I bet those guys swing 100 times or more.
Oh, more than
A lot
that,
more than
for sure.
and they talk about how that actually makes an impact on their second half of the season. They don't have as much power, they're drained, and they're always probably trying to kick up. And that's sort of like, I've dealt with many athletes in the past who have kind of been on that grinder wheel, and always, like you said, tired doesn't mean you're more fit. It's just like you keep pushing. It's a really interesting thing because here I am, man. I haven't been on my bike now I bet a month probably, and I'm pretty sure I could go down there and get on that trainer and ride a couple hours, easy. I've been doing other things. I've been running a little bit and like doing a lot of body work, and I feel pretty good. You know what I mean? So that's always an interesting kind of dichotomy for me, is this idea of being, living a relatively healthy lifestyle, kind of having the I guess foundation. And we talk about this a lot. Like I've known people that have been lifetime runners that maybe haven't run for a year or so, and then they'll just jump in a half marathon and knock it out. Nothing like extremely fast, but there's something to be said for your DNA. I mean, just that memory pattern that's going on in your body, and the ability to relax and sort of not feel stressed about what you're doing, and you can get on there. So there's always, like, if you're living fairly healthily, there's a certain level of fitness that's just kind of innate to you if you've been doing this sport for a while. So that's always an interesting part of this for me, is like how, I know that you have to sort of keep ramp it up and kind of dial it in and all that kind of stuff as you're getting towards a race, but just those little singles and doubles of getting, I think maybe people are in better shape than they think they are, or something like that. Um, and also I was thinking about what this could, I mean, there's probably a genuine, um, maybe rekindling of a love for the sport at play here. You want something you can't have, and all of a sudden these things are
Mm-hmm.
taken away, and we kind of get in again that hamster wheel of race, 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 off season, race, 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 race. Now all of a sudden it's like, huh, mom and dad have taken away the bat and ball for a while.
Mm. That's a great
You,
insight right there. Is like,
were you taking it for advantage, taking advantage, or taking it for granted, I guess. Yeah. So
and
it's like,
you're just not seizing the moment. And we have moments. There are moments haven't been taken. our freedom in a way has been either taken away or suggested that we don't do, or your freedom has been restricted, with, working from home and managing your kids, or your freedom has been even more restricted with having to now double your workload. We have a lot of athletes that we work with that are in the medical field, and they are just nonstop. They're just nonstop working. They're at work all the time. Um, and it's interesting, like, and it makes me like really appreciate the not just the work and the jobs that anyone in healthcare are doing, but when you read comments from them in training peaks after missing like 3 or 4 days in a row because all there is work. They're working 80 hours a week. One of our most recent squadcast with Sean Sanford, he dove into that. But it's like I'll see like 3 or 4 days of red and then a run. And it's like, I'm so glad I was able to get this in, like a freeing opportunity in a moment that I can like capture as mine and not be, and I can actually be kind of on the offensive and do it for me, not I'm on the defensive with work and I'm working all hours of the day. And at the, I'm underneath the thumb of all this. And it's I think we all have these opportunities that have hopefully been shown that you really don't know what you have or what you appreciate until it's taken away, and the freedom and the things we take advantage of and the things that we don't appreciate and the time that we have. And yeah, I think it's just a grand opportunity for a lot of things, whatever you way, however you want to look at it. And a lot of people don't have as much time; they have less time. They're going into working more, but the work that they are doing is incredibly important, and essential. And I hope that the athletes and the people we have that are listening to this like understand that if you're having to work right now, and you should take, I'm sure it's not a comfortable thing, or you might not feel this way, but I hope that they feel a lot of pride, in that it's you know, this place has got to keep on working, and I think from an athletic standpoint racing, it's like, I can just kind of go into, nobody's going to think about training through races in 3 months. We always hear that this time of year. I'm just going to train through it, man. It's just kind of a D race. I'm not really going to care about it. You're going to care about it now because because they're gone. Every race, and we've talked about this a million times, is like when you race, we race. Like you get after it because you don't know when the next opportunity is going to come. Like you can't take these things for granted. You can't take these opportunities for granted. You can't just think, oh, I can probably do it later. Can you? Like so much of this is proven how much we like even more so are in like zero control. And you have to capitalize on the moments that you have the ability to capitalize on. And that goes for races, like you said. Like I really do. I hope that it's a rekindling in the appreciation and the love and the gratitude and the humility of what it means to participate in events like these, no matter what the distance is, and to take not necessarily take the opportunity seriously, because that's, I think, way too much of a problem is like how serious people take these, but to take advantage of the opportunity and to seize that moment and to do the best that you can in that, because those opportunities are rare when it comes to those events and being able to stand up and run. That's why people are racing in their living room right now. Like you want to be able to do that. So I hope that there's a genuine like appreciation and the ownership that people will have when they get back to racing. It's like I laid it out there today. Call it what you want, call it a D race or an A race or whatever, but lay it all out there, because we rarely have those up, and that's why racing is so fun, because you get to express all of your hard work, you get to just go through and lay it all out in the line. There are very few times when you get to do that. I think it's very, very important to have that kind of mindset and that thought process that is chip away, chip away, chip away, chip away, chip away. And when I get there though, I'm gonna put it all together, and I'm gonna have some fun. And I do. I hope that's what people think. I hope that's what people are hoping for and how they're seeing things, and that we're, I don't, I'm, like I have been in the last couple podcasts, like I'm cautiously optimistic about what this is going to do for the mindset of people when they go race, and the like you said, the ability to not take it for granted.
Yeah, there has to be sort of an analogy again with this, these grizzled veteran manager types that, the whole fan base is exploding in April because certain guys aren't playing as much or they're doing things wrong, but they're looking at that long game.
Hmm.
And I think you're right. I think it's important. I think we all have that capability to step back and look at things and say, okay, well, there's nothing we can do here, but like, what's the benefit? And can we imagine a future, that is better in triathlon and with like you're saying, all these more appreciations and things. I want to ask you a couple questions here just to discuss. We're talking about when will the races be?
Hmm.
And I think that's, as you said, a mystery. Nobody really knows and all that kind of stuff. But I I'm interested because I don't know, just hypothetically, let's say June 1st is when quote unquote things are okay or whatever, and everything starts kind of going back. Or I'm, I hope it's before that, um,
It's
but
not.
then you have um, a race, say in July,
Hmm.
6 weeks out. And I think common thinking is that that's just not going to be enough time. And to me, that's probably because of right now, at least, because of the swim, right? There's going to be a swim effect. Like they're going to be too afraid to have long swims
Hmm.
when people don't have enough time to train.
Yeah.
Is that that's going to be kind of the reason, right? And I'm also thinking about it in terms of like, do you think there's going to be as much as I want to think there's going to be, and I believe there's going to be sort of this like gratitude and people are going to love being around each other and everything. Do you think there's going to be sort of a side effect of like, stay away from me, dude. I'm not high five. That kind of like, strange. I'm just curious about like how this is going to impact human interaction in that way, because triathlon is such a huggy, sweaty sport. I just wonder if it's going to be like, hey, here's some gloves, high five, rubber glove. I don't know. It's just like going to be really interesting to me to see how that pans out.
I think it's gonna be different for everybody. I think that there's it's gonna happen in stages, I think. There's gonna be, relief and excitement via optimism, that we are on the downside of this, and that's gonna generate, a certain type of reaction and I think uh, social response. Then I think there's going to be, people who are going to take more precautions and not do things or do more things. And I think it's going to go in phases. I don't. I think it'll. I think it will. I think it'll change. It'll change things for the interim in a lot of ways. But I also think like like a lot of people, like they can't wait to go see their friends and go hug their friends. Like Zoom is great. FaceTiming is awesome. Like doing those things and connecting in any way you can right now is crucial. But there is nothing on this planet that is more impactful than human touch. And I think hugging individuals and seeing people face to face, like there's a reason that you get more from that. And I think the opportunities we have now, we've been taking advantage of opportunities like our Zoom meetings and Zwift ride, like team Zwift rides, and we're going to do like a team 10K in like 8 weeks or whatever, just to kind of generate that community and like that connected feel. But like there is nothing, like I was texting yesterday, I was like, man, I can't wait for this to be over. We can just like, like the hub is open or whatever it is, and like run camp. Like for me, run camp is all I'm thinking about right now. It's like in November. I want our camps in June to go forward with, and I'm optimistic they will. But it's like I love our run camps because it's everybody in a room just hanging out, everybody in a house and a lodge hanging out and just doing things, and just that connective like oneness. And I think that people need that. I think and this is going to go way off triathlon topic here, and that's fine. I think while there have been so there's while the majority of the media and the headlines have been obviously about this virus and about how it's impacting other people. There are so many other people being impacted by this. That like connecting with people is medicine for people. And you've got people who struggle with addiction, who struggle with depression, who are in abusive relationships, who are stuck at home, and kids that are don't have the greatest family units. Like that's like that's the kind of stuff that people just don't talk about. Like that's being right now seriously impacted in a way. And we're just all going to need each other. And I think needing each other is a physical thing. And I think, I just hope that, we're going to pick up the phone more. We're going to walk down the street more. I've seen it in my neighborhood in like a very, small, social experiment, if you will. It's like everyone is now, it was already kind of a friendly neighborhood to begin with because it's kind of small. It's like only 50 houses, but everybody walks by and says hi and talks and asks how they're doing because we're all craving from strangers that just like conversation, and it's been awesome. But I think on a grander scale and a grander scheme of things with your friends and your family, like we did like a family Skype call or a Zoom, a Zoom chat with my whole family on Sunday during Hayden's nap. And of course, my grandmother, after like 10 minutes, like you met Mimi, she's like 93. After 10 minutes, she was like, are we done yet? Like, what is this? Like, I don't even know what's going on right now. She probably has like no idea where the camera is or whatever, but we ended up talking for like 45 minutes. Which, we would have done that, obviously if we were there. We're talking about doing the same thing this Sunday to have like a somewhat like, web chat Easter service or whatever. But I hope that that's what triathlon is, and I think that it is, and it's an opportunity for people to come together, and you give people high fives and give people, we're gonna get back to that comfortability, that connection, and I hope that this may sound odd, but I hope it's not like a switch that flips so where it's all back to normal, because I think when things fire back to normal, so in some ways like a bad normal, like the way things people want to self-correct, they get back in the same habits. Like, oh, I'm totally going to change the way that I do things. Like, you just wait. Like when this opportunity is like, I'm just going to do this, and then like 2 days go by and you're like, oh, life's happening and I forgot that. Screw it. Life's back together. I'm just fine. I don't want to see people. I don't want to do anything. Screw you guys. I don't want to talk to you. It's more likely to happen that way. But if it's a slow transition, I think it gives us an opportunity, like it gives us hope, to stay connected and to make extra efforts to see people and connect to people and see faces and hug and do things. So I think it's going to take some time. I think it's only reasonable to think, in terms of how all races, and I think every major sports organization, baseball, basketball, football, like the thing is, like the very first one that kicks back, all eyes are going to be on them. How are you doing things? How are things being conducted? Are people in the stands? Do people feel, safe? Are people doing this? And you brought up a great point, which I thought about on the swim, is like, are they like, how much time is enough time to give people on preparing themselves for a swim? Are they going to cut all the swims short? Are they going to not even have swims? Like I think people need to wrap their brains on the fact that that is a real possibility. That if it's 30 days out, you're either going to have the option or there just won't be a swim. And I think because Ironman is a business, triathlon. Oh, it's not just Ironman as a business. Like everybody, harps on Ironman, and I'm one of them. Like I rip on them a lot of times too, because I think they do a lot of things that are just terrible. But every race director is in business for themselves. So they all do these things, and they're always looking for ways to mitigate risk and the opportunity for loss. That's why you sign like a million waivers and a million lines of fine print that nobody reads. So they're going to be finding ways and thinking through opportunities and things we can do to limit that as much as possible. It could be anything. It could be self-serve aid stations, or the first, for the remainder of the year. I think these are real things that you need to think about, not as like, this is like not me being negative. I think it's just like things you should think about that to me make like somewhat common sense. Like you think about the race that we do, and you go into like, are they, so when you harp on race directors for canceling things, like you have to think about the city. Is a city going to want X amount of people flooding into their city that are coming from God knows where? I mean, not yet, obviously, maybe like July. Well, that depends on like what state, obviously. um could it be June or July? Okay, then if they are ready, that, how many people are going to be willing to volunteer, to be in the transition tents and help you change clothes and do all that? How many people are willing to, stand on the side of the road and hand you water bottles? Like, I think we're going to go in phases. So I think, with the excitement that racing is going to come back with, I think that's how you have to look at the opportunity. Is at least I'm getting this opportunity. It's going to look, in my opinion, it's going to look very, very different. At least at the end of this year, it's going to look very different. Even if you get the opportunity to race and get out, do an actual venue and do an event, it's going to look and feel different. And I think that's okay. I think it's only reasonable to assume that. I think next year things are back to normal. Hey, it's like just think about the smart things, and I think we phase into it, and hopefully then, as again, phase out of it.
Maybe they'll just bring in like 2,000 endless pools and do some kind of crazy.
Oh gosh, that would be
No, I'm
awesome.
kidding.
I would love
But
that.
anyway, well, I'm glad everybody's saying hi and being friendly in your neighborhood. It must be nice. I mean, I feel like people around here are yelling at each other for walking together and
Oh,
too
really?
close.
Well, I mean, no, yeah, nobody's doing that here. Everybody's kind of
I
doing
mean,
their
it's like
thing and
families out
being.
walking, and then the next thing I see is a picture of them on Facebook with like, "Look at these assholes."
Oh God,
I mean,
I'm
and then
so
it's just a
fucking tired of
firestorm.
these.
So, like to your point, I like this idea of okay, things are going to be a little different here. Let's gradually phase back in, and there's going to be some precautions and things of that nature. But like this all on over the top like flip around is like kind of silly sometimes. Like when people rag on each other for walking together as a family. I mean, like I don't know. I mean,
You
there
know,
was talk on.
it's not very. It hasn't been publicized well, but if you read all of like the shelter in place like guidelines, if you read
Hmm.
through the whole list of things and you go at the very, very the bottom and you go through, there's this really small portion, fine print that says, "Don't be a dick."
There,
I feel like I'm the only person that's read that. They obviously got the message here in our neighborhood. Obviously, maybe not in yours, but like, stop just the general. Like, stop shaming people. It's like I obviously can't stand it. Like, this about it. It is like one of those things. I just like block people and unfriend them. Like, just be nice. Like, it doesn't take anything to be nice, to choose to be a better person and to be positive instead of negative. Like,
mm,
it just those are simple choices that you make. You know, like to show gratitude instead of like whining. Like it just gosh, it just chaps me.
well, I just feel like
Obviously you can't
sometimes
tell.
people go from one topic to the next, and that's just their general demeanor. They're angry and bitter about everything, so they just transfer it into the next big thing,
Hey,
and
hey,
that's
hey,
just no way to go
let's
through
not
life.
rip on people that go from one topic to the next, or our podcast wouldn't exist.
Yeah, I know, but we have
I mean, like
I feel like we have a
we can't be too
consistently
hard on those people. Um,
open-minded and compassionate perspective in general.
yeah. I guess I've loved people seemingly to be like genuinely interested in what you're doing. Like, how are things going? How's it going? You guys hanging in there? I think it's interesting, like everybody in this planet is going through something. Like, if we remove the common denominator that is this virus and what we're going through, this pandemic, if you remove that, still everyone has got something that they're going through. We've just now been given this like really easy conversation starter of being kind of somewhat, the freedom to be vulnerable because we all kind of know we're all stuck here. Like, how is it going? Like, oh, you guys hanging in there? But if that's how it should be, is like you should ask people how they're doing because you care and because obviously conversation matters, connection matters, looking somebody in the eye matters, like having those, even if it's from 6 feet away, like that's just those things matter. And I think they're vital. I think they're super important to how our society moves forward. Is that ability to be sympathetic to people and encouraging and positive and you know yeah, the shame people just like they fucking I can't stand them.
Yeah.
Shame on you, people.
Shame.
Shame on you people. Phew. That's all I had for today. I feel like we did a pretty good job. We didn't really stay on topic, but hey, we played small ball. We hit for a few singles. May have got a few times, but at least we hope you took away at least one home run from this podcast. Thank you.
Tricky.
Thank you. Telling you've been rubbing off on me the last 3 years, man. I'm doing some good with the old media one-liners, teasers.
Oh man, I got to pull back, man. But I could really have a little strategy meeting with you about the teasers.
I can't do.
Just just take something that's gonna shock and scare people,
Oh, I know, right?
and leave out a few important details.
Exactly right.
Oh man.
But in all seriousness, hey, we appreciate everyone that listens to this podcast and tunes in, whether it's your first time listener, an occasional listener, or the regular listener. We hope you're all doing well. We hope you're hanging tough, staying healthy, staying happy, and finding some positive spin on what's going on right now. And if you haven't been, there's a great positive place that we already have. It's our Facebook group. It's called Crushing Iron Group. Ask to be let in there, answer a simple question, we'll let you in. If you haven't checked it out, go to our website, c26triathlon.com. It highlights our community coaching and camps, and it is also where you can find more information on our online hub. That is a growing resource library and platform, videos, blogs, articles, squadcasts, you name it, it's there. Got a lot of great info, and above all else, just keep things in there. We'll see you on the flip side.
That sounds great, buddy. I appreciate it.